This is Cougar football.
Mike, you had three true freshman cornerback starters this year. It seemed like Marcellus maybe had the best debut. Where is he ahead of the others right now?
Difficult to say because he got kind of pressed into service quickly, and then he did pretty well, and we'll continue to look at him, evaluate him, but I thought he did start out without much, without a lot of preparation and got thrown in there. I thought he did well.
Do you think the way he sort of attacked that opportunity, do you hope that serves as an example to some of the other young DBs?
I hope so. It should. I mean, first thing a guy when you recruit him from high school says he wants to play as a freshman, and then, once you get to play as a freshman, you need to play like you belong there, and I thought Marcellus did.
Peyton Bender is another guy who is young but has played extensively this season. What have you seen of him?
Yeah, I think he's a real instinctual guy. I think Peyton's he's a hard-nosed guy, real instinctual guy, and, at times overachieves, I think, because of that, because of his knowledge and sense of the game, and I think he's gotten better and better.
Does it take kind of a certain personality to go beat out a long-time starter at a position like that?
I think it all depends, but the biggest thing is I think, Peyton just has a great deal of focus and a great deal of, effort out there. I think it's very meaningful to him to play, and so I think that helps him.
When those young guys are competing for starting jobs early in their careers and, versus going through Thursday night footballs and just, practicing as a freshman, do you feel like that accelerates their growth in the system?
No question.
And then in these rivalry games, like the Apple Cup, do you expect increased penalties because guys are amped up?
No.
At Texas Tech, you guys had different rivalries. How different is it when it's just Washington State as far as the rivalry instead of being at Tech? You guys had Texas, A&M, teams like that.
This is one of the most intense ones I've been a part of. All rivalries have their own quality to it. I mean, it's really another game, but this is an intense rivalry, and everybody gets excited about it, and you hear somebody or another talk about it year round.
Is there any more importance to this game with recruits in town than other weeks when recruits are in town? Other than watch the
No, I think they're all important.
For Peyton's ability to overachieve, do you think some of that stems from the fact that he comes from a family that's had a number of guys play football at a high level, maybe set a standard?
I think that his expectation that he could be successful, I think, probably was enhanced by that, and I think that, just kind of sometimes there's a sense that you measure up to that type of thing. I think that's probably helped him some, too.
Like, how do you attack these rivalry games with the players? I know you have the faceless opponent mantra, but you try and harness the intensity that these guys are building up for this game?
Everybody's plenty motivated to play the game. That's not really the issue. We need to focus on our job and our plays. I mean, the intensity's already there, so there's not a need for extra motivation. We have the motivation.
Can there be more distractions this week at all? I mean, since it's a rivalry.
Which is exactly what you try to avoid, which is why you don't worry about stoking something up. You're already stoked up. You worry about focusing on your job and making plays within the context of your job.
How does a win in this game to you compare to wins in other games during the regular season?
It's good, and then it's good, and it's the last game of the season, so I think it's important that way, and go out and do the best you can.
Does it help your season?
Like all these distinction questions that somehow this one's different or more special. I mean, it's not like we're sitting here gauging our efforts saying, oh, well, we're going to try really extra hard because this one's more important. That's not what's happening here. I mean, you try as hard as you can on all of them. Yeah, we're excited about the Apple Cup. We're thrilled to play it. Can't wait till it starts, and glad we have a week to prepare.
When you look at film on Shaq Thompson, what do you see out there as far as a two-way player and a guy that seems to be, dominating every game that he plays?
A talented guy, just kind of a talented guy, sort of special, and his ability to do that,
Would you compare him to a Miles Jack at UCLA, or are they different players?
I think they're a little different, but I think they're kind of special in the way that, you know, they can do a variety of things.
Mike, and what have you seen out of Washington's defensive line?
Strong, kind of explosive too. A couple players that are, you know, just really good players, strong, fast guys, you know, that, you know, explosive, and so then they have a knack for getting sacks. So, and the other thing is they rely on their defensive line to get pressure. You know, their defensive line's good enough that they'll use them to get pressure as opposed to a lot of blitzes.
How much of the success that they had really stems to that big nose tackle they have in the middle?
I think that's part of it. You know, that runner pass, he's a big obstacle there, and then you know, he himself doesn't get as many sacks, but he creates a pile in the quarterback's lap, so it restricts the space.
You coached against Chris Peterson before, or any?
No, I haven't. I actually haven't.
You met him? I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know Chris Peterson. Guy, you know, nice guy.
I don't know if anyone asked this or not, but what do you do to kind of make the players feel at home a little bit during Thanksgiving? I'm sure it's a kind of a difficult week for some of those guys.
Well, you just practice. Practice. They enjoy being around each other to begin with. They actually have quite a bit of fun in the past, at least, and then we'll have a Thanksgiving dinner and an activity on Wednesday and get ready to play the game.
I think last year you went to Zeppo's. Is that kind of the plan?
Yeah, we'll go to Zeppo's again.
Mike, you speak to Connor's lasting impact and what you think what he's done this year can do for the program going forward.
Well, I think that, you know, a lot of these guys are young guys that they kind of drew their sense of working hard and you know, what pushing themselves. I think, you know, it was just a starting point, but I think they drew a certain amount of that from Connor, and then I think Connor kind of illustrated some of the things that you can do individually and together if you're focused and you push hard and you work hard.
I know you don't want guys thinking about the numbers too much, but the superlative ones he was able to put up, is that something that could be kind of a symbol, be it in recruiting or something for a young quarterback coming into point two?
Well, I think they're helpful. I mean, you know, anytime something's the best in history, I mean, there's a distinction to it, so. But I think it's helpful, but I also, you know, I wish he could have finished out the year, but Luke's doing a heck of a job, so we're excited about him. But you know, we throw the ball quite a bit, and we're getting better at it. So, yeah, we definitely draw from that with regard to recruiting.
Do you think it's important for him, for his family, and you know, for the Wazoo community that he gets to go out there on senior night and sort of close that chapter a little bit and you know, get the applause from the fans?
I think, you know, Connor's a big part of the team and has been from the beginning. So, you know, so we're always excited to see him, and he's around here some, so.
Coach, you kind of joked about not having football factories last week. You don't have school this week. Does that help you guys as you prepare?
Well, we've got 20 hours. We can use our 20 hours how we want. This time of year, it's usually less. This time of year, it's usually significantly less than 20 hours because you'll have, you know, your practices, which aren't quite as long, and then you'll have your meetings, but more stuff. We've been at it longer, so it'll be less than the 20 hours. So.
Mike, Christoph Williams will go to the senior day stuff on the field.
As far as I know, I haven't talked to him and I haven't paid attention to it. It's fine with me.
Well, Mike,
I mean, here's the thing I get a kick out of you guys. I mean, there's nobody in the nation that a month and a half before senior day plans what's going to happen at senior day. I haven't planned one my entire career, so I'm not now.
Any questions on the line for Coach Leach?
Mike Bud Withers here. On the follow-up on the Christoph situation, he ever told, or was it ever implied to him that he couldn't go through senior night ceremonies?
Not by me. Not by me. I've talked to him once in 3 months. We're excited for him, excited what he's done, and we wish him the best.
Any other?
A question related, going back to Saturday's game. A couple of punts were allowed to drop and you know, give ASU 15, 20 extra yards. How's that being coached? I mean, are you guys, you know, trying to, in some situations, have the return guy get out of the way?
No, he should have caught them. He should have caught them.
Any other questions on the line for Coach? Right in the room?
Yeah, during this week, do you usually notice an extra spring in the step of the guys more focused than usual?
Maybe a little, just because practice is earlier and even though the school's not going, I think the team kind of enjoys spending some time with each other. I think, you know, on one hand they don't get a break, but on the other hand they get to spend a lot of time together, which I think they enjoy.
When you reflect back on I know you don't like to think too much in the past. When you reflect back on your first Apple Cup win, what kind of sticks out to you about that game?
I played hard and played for 60 minutes, you know, and we were behind a lot of that game, but scratched our way back into it, and that's kind of a win based on playing hard and getting the most of each play.
Do you think after that season, for that team to come back the way they did that really kind of impact the buy-in for the players going into next season?
I don't know. I mean, I thought we got better in the off season. I thought we were excited to win the game. We were excited to win all games. So,
what kind of defines this senior class for you, the 14 guys who stuck around?
Well, I think obviously in varying degrees, but some of them really pushed through, and you know, it was a tough change for them. Some of them got pushed out of starting position. Some of them excelled to hang on to it and turned into pretty good leaders for the rest of the group. So, you know, we're excited about their careers.
Coach, the student question for you, they want to know what your favorite time period is in history.
Shoot, tomorrow, I guess. That's a tough one. That's tough to nail down. It's like Paul Harvey says, tomorrow's always better than yesterday.
Any favorites though, or anything? Or?
I could think of arguments for all of them, really.
Okay.
That's tough to say. I'm sure they all have their challenges too. That's all. All. I mean, all of them have. I have trouble narrowing it down. I mean, I'm not trying to avoid your question,
Okay.
but yeah. I mean, you know, because sometimes the stupid questions in here I avoid, or I'll blow them off, and you know, there's certainly some of those, but I just can't narrow it down. You know, I have a difficult time. I wish I could help you with that. And I ask myself that same question periodically, you know, and haven't successfully sorted it. And then, yeah, I wish I could. You know, I'd isolate and zero in on it a little more.
The students stumped you for once, is that?
Yeah, they darn sure did.
Last chance for Coach.
Mike, is there a rivalry that you haven't coached in, but that the history or kind of pageantry around has always fascinated you?
That I haven't. Oh, shoot, let's think of one. Well, shoot. Let me think, a lot of them are kind of under the radar more than they ought to be. More than they ought to be. Wow, I can think of a lot of good ones. Well, you know, you got the Iron Bowl that's got a lot of, it's incredibly intense. It's a very, very, very intense game, and almost a game of hatred. But it's more of a defensive guy's game, you know, because it's almost trench warfare. It's like World War I or something. You know, Georgia-Florida's an interesting one. It'd be a long time before Florida ever catches up to Georgia, because Georgia won most of them before the, you know, a ton of them before the 70s. And of course, they used to meet down there in Jacksonville. I don't know if they still do that. Where is that? Do they still go to Jacksonville? Because they talked about going home and home. I think that's a good one. You know, they're all kind of exciting. And then some of them evolve to where they have 2 or 3, you know. So.
You guys good with Coach?
Just one last one. Washington also has a very kind of young crop of defensive backs. They get a lot of pressure from their defensive line, but have you seen much out of them?
Well, they're not as young as us, interestingly enough. I think they're doing pretty good. I think Washington's doing pretty good. Right here, I got senior, junior, sophomore, freshman. So I said senior a lot. So I think they're doing just fine.